I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're taking a look at a terrific book. It is called Your Coach is a Farmer, and it is written by Jeff Jordan. It is a fascinating blend of farming, sports, and life lessons. Today, we're going to discover how the fields of agriculture and athletic coaching intertwine to teach us about resilience, growth, and personal insight. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Jeff, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Good to see you.
Good to see you. What inspired you to write this book about how athletic coaching and farming kind of all play a part in being a good life coach?
I think what inspired me is retiring. When I got out, I've gotten out of coaching several times. I would retire for a year or two, and then I always would go back because I felt that I had something that I had to give. And I think writing the book, it gave me it gave me a cathartic sort of ending where it exercised those demons that kept driving me back, because I think through the book I can teach some of the life lessons that I learned during my coaching tenure, and also I get to pass on to people that I never did get to coach or never will get to coach except through the book. And I think the book is so much more than being about athletics or farming. It's more about, like you said, life lessons and wisdom in how we approach life.
Yeah. What was it like for you writing the book? Was this the first time you tried to write a book?
Oh, no, I wrote a book when I was maybe around 30. I published it, I think I was 31. It was fiction. It's a good book. I've reread it recently.
Yeah.
And really a really good story. But this story was more, like I say, I don't think I would have been able to stay out of coaching if I didn't write the book, because I always felt the obligation to the youth to try to help them. And I think one of my strengths as a coach was I tell stories that help them excel. And I think that the book gives me the opportunity to pass those stories on to other people that I would never get to coach.
Right.
Parent, people that are in different fields other than agriculture or athletics.
Yeah. And if you think about all of the sports metaphors that we use in life, that, he was stealing home, or he hit it out of the park, or that's a grand slam, teamwork. I mean, there's so much from sports that make a good lesson for people, that is kind of illustrated in the way we speak, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, in agriculture, I mean, that's why I put the farming part in it, because there's some wisdom. Very few people have any connection to farm or farm life, but making hay, like you said, or don't there. I could just go down through the chapters of lessons learned, like don't you make hay while the sun shines, or
Right.
the wildest coats make the best horses. There are lots of sayings that we still have, though people don't really have the connection. And I think that the way it was written, especially in the lessons learned, which is the first part that I started writing, and the part that I'll probably like the most, was, it was an attempt to take a natural wisdom, natural truths, and link them to things that happened or constantly happen in sports, and then to extend it one more step, because the lessons that you learn are lessons that apply to me today, or you today, and parents today. So
What's one of those principal lessons that you learned along the way as a coach and a farmer?
probably the biggest lesson, from coaching is I learned early on, though I had some wonderful success and plenty of awards. The most important thing is how you change someone's life and how you change it, not for today, but for the rest of their lives.
Mm.
I think the planting potatoes chapter, and there's another one, planting seed.
Mm.
And we don't know what we put into people at the moment sometimes,
Yeah.
and I think the larger lessons in life is what makes it worthwhile. It's not the medals or awards that you win along the way. It's how you change. It changes your life and continues. It gets into your blood and it stays with you if it's a real experience.
Exactly. Tell me a little bit about your life now. Are you still farming? I know you retired from coaching, but what about farming?
I do. I'm a cattleman. I don't call myself a rancher because everybody thinks you're John Dutton, but I do. I raise a lot of cattle. I have about right now. I have probably 500 head. So
Gotcha. Sounds great. And for the folks at home, tell them what kind of coaching you did when you were a sports coach.
I coached wrestling. I started out as a wrestling coach. Well, I started out as an English teacher who was sort of pushed into coaching,
Uh-huh.
and I ended up that ended up being a path for me. I ended up being, well known and probably respected, hopefully, coach. And I coached wrestling for 8 years at Franklin, which was my old home school, hometown and alma mater. And then I moved up here and started a farm up here, and then they eventually lured me back into coaching wrestling again. And then my kids started growing up and they loved soccer. And I had a little soccer experience, and I worked really hard and became probably as well known as a soccer coach as I was a wrestling coach. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. And you mentioned you were a teacher, and teachers obviously can connect with students and children, but I think coaches connect on a much deeper level, don't you think?
uh, for the most part, yeah, I think
Yeah.
teachers can be wonderful. And I mean, they can be wonderful life coaches too.
Hmm.
But I think I think the sacrifices that are made in sports, sacrifice is what makes things dear to you. And I think that's why sports is so valuable. And now sports are looked at sort of as a vocational avenue. You're going to go play and make money or get commercials or endorsements or all that. But I adhere to the old wide world of sports where it is about the core, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Yeah.
It's about what you learn from the sport. The things that you can put in your pocket are not very valuable compared to the things that go in your soul and spirit. So that's the way I see it.
Exactly, exactly. And also, every time you watch a sporting event, it's almost like watching like a microcosm of life. It's like a little war that's going on. I mean, particularly football, it's that way, soccer's that way, and wrestling is obviously a one-on-one pursuit, but it also has that kind of, do or die kind of mentality, right?
Correct. I think competition uh, it hones us, it pushes us. I think sports are like anything. It depends on what you put into it, and I think that's the wonderful part of competition is it forces us to put more into it,
Hmm.
and when we put more into it, we get a lot more out of it, and it's not just victories or success. It's also the life lessons, the character growth. Because I think character growth, what else grows character in life? Not much.
Right.
We've got that's we uh, despair about the lack of character in our society or in whatever. But what does grow character? I mean, when I was a kid, I had chores, and that develops character, on a farm. But who does that anymore? My kids don't. They fall away.
I
So
know.
they did at a time, but I think that sports is such an undervalued education as far as, it's a spiritual education. It's
Right.
it's a education that makes us into something absolutely unique and wonderful, or it can. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily. I mean, the
Right.
nature of sports is just that it pushes you. The competition pushes you. It can push you in any direction. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily push you toward the light.
Right. And farming's the same way. You learn about the importance of daylight, sunlight, rain. We talked about rain at the beginning of the interview. It's raining, it's a good thing because you're a cattleman, you're a farmer. So you do look at life differently. You rise with the sun, you set with the sun, you live according to the biorhythm of your animals at times as well, right?
Absolutely. There's a season, you know, there's a season for everything, and it's not spring, it's calving season, it's hay season, it's time defense season. There,
Exactly.
it has rhythms, and you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, we live by our animals when we're on a farm for sure. The name of the
Uh,
book we've been talking about today is Your Coach is a Farmer. It's written by a terrific author. His name is Jeff Jordan. It is a fascinating blend of farming, sports, and life lessons. You will love this book. It will give you a lot of insight on how to have a life that is well lived, much like Jeff has. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us here on Spotlight today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.